we're only as good as the votes. Let me tell you, these top weather events, because it always surprises me some of the events. Once in a while, we'll have a big event that there's no question it's going to be #1, but sometimes you don't know. This one was interesting. It was a weird year. 2024 was a strange year for weather. Not a huge amount of severe weather, right? Not a lot of tornadoes. No big tornadoes. We did have drought, we had flood, and we had a giant hailstorm. So we had some things that were noteworthy. So this is the campus field, June 17, 2024. That's something the farmers would like to see. It was nice to get the rain to get rid of the drought, but then of course it rains too much, right? So top 5 weather events. So here's our website. I just tried to go to it. Of course, I couldn't reach to it, so I don't know why. Safari didn't like it for some reason. So yes, we're so modern now, we have a QR code. Is that amazing? Yes. So use the QR code. Yeah, I don't know. Somebody made it for us, but dinosaurs. So anyway, you go to a website. The best thing about our website is it has everything possible you could want with weather and more. It's deep. It's a deep web. There's lots of stuff there. It's not fancy though. That website's looked about the same since the 1990s. So we had a book in the office for a while called The Whole Internet from 1992, and we were in the book. It was a website. So the Minnesota section was maybe like 30 websites. That's all they had. So that's how old we are. So we have a lot there. So yep, the Climate Journal's a big one. We have tornadoes and all kinds of things on there. You can even get the forecast if you click on the little sun. That goes right to the National Weather Service. You can get the forecast. So anyway, we have the top 5 on our website. And what will be the top 5 events of this year? So this is about the only event we've had so far, I think. Our cold outbreak, January 17th through 21st. And I guarantee you, everybody will forget about this by this time next year. Because it's a long time. That's one problem with the top 5 list, is it has to be really outstanding at the beginning of the year to really stand out. That everybody will remember it. Does anybody remember Super Clipper Jr. in December? Yeah, a few. So that's part of the problem with the list, is that you might be biased a little bit for something that happens in December of this year. You know, because everybody remembers it. So anyway, cold outbreak, probably be on the list. You can vote for it. So, you know, kind of the coldest we've seen since, 2021, I suppose. It's not really. We had 66 hours below zero. You know, so there's some statistics there, but nothing outstanding. I call this entry-level cold outbreak. That's kind of how it felt. Yes. It's like, welcome to cold. No, who knows? Maybe we'll have another one in February. I don't know. We'll see. Here was the candidates. And then basically I have people vote, get 5 points for #1, 4 points for #2, and 3, 2, 1. So if you only vote for 1, your 1 vote is 5 points. So there's all kinds of answers people comes up with. And sometimes people put on their own items, add to it sometimes. So I usually try to get at least 10 things to vote on. So we had 36 respondents. It was funny, exactly the same as last year. So that's interesting. It's a bad time of year too, because of course, end of the year, people are gone. When I send out, I still have an old archaic email list that's horrible. And so the amount of out of offices I get is amazing, you know. I'm out of the office till January 17th or whatever it is, you know. They're like, oh, I guess they won't be voting. So it's getting harder to reach people. Now people say, why don't you do a poll? Or why don't you do a, whatever on it? And I'm like, well, how do I know they're not, doing it 8 times, stacking the votes, So I don't know. There is some room for improvement. I'll go back to paper ballots. How about that? Everybody just mail me your votes. No. All right. Here's number 5. Extreme autumn warmth and dryness. So this was, in the fall, September was amazing for precipitation, like we didn't have any. We have 1,000 rain gauge readers in the state. There's very few times I let them get away with a 0. If I see a 0 on a precip form, I usually get rid of it right away. because you almost are gonna get something, you know, just a little bit, right? September 2024 is one of the few times I might let a zero slide, because it really was almost zero for a lot of people. Including the Twin Cities, very dry. And then, of course, the drought came back, you know, basically first day of September, the 4th week of October, really warm, really dry, great for ag, because they could all harvest just fine. It actually probably saved a ton of money on propane, because they used propane to dry the crops. They didn't need it. Actually, some of the crops are probably too dry. They want a perfect moisture level in order to get the maximum money for your crops. So they like to dry it down. They got to dry it down to a certain point. Didn't need to this past year. So it was a good harvest, basically. So that's number 5. And number 4, I think it's number 4. They didn't put 4 on there. So we had dueling dry spells in 2024. And I have to say these top 5 votes are not exciting, right? We're voting on dry. What was the driest part, right? So it's dry and then even dry. So you know, it was not too exciting, but you know what? You know, I guess people vote for what they remember the most, and it affected a lot of people because you had the water. I had a lot of complaints in September. People that water their lawns, water their gardens. So yep, it does impact people. Number 3. This might be my favorite one. The giant hail of July 31st. And I'm going to get the city name right. It's right here. Did I even say what city? Yeah, there it is. Chocayo?
Chicago.
Did I get it? Chocayo. Chocayo. So we all learned the city name today. So Chocayo is right here. There it is. So we had a student worker in the office that was a whiz at ARC, and she put together a map of 4+ hail reports. Who's seen 4-inch hail? Yeah. Yeah. It's kind of fun to hold a 4-inch hailstone in your hand, isn't it? It's like, wow, you know, I don't want to my car kind of feeling. This is the one I know. This is the one I remember right there. The Egan 2002 score. That was the baseball highest hail I remember. It wasn't my house, but my meteorology friend goes, "You gotta come down and take a look at the hail. I have it in the freezer." So I took pictures of it, and I even had a real camera back then. And back then in 2002, nobody had a phone with a camera. It wasn't the best picture in the world, but the Skywarn people loved it, because I put a ruler in front and baseballs and all that stuff you're supposed to do with hail. Not do this. Don't do this and take a picture in your hand. So it's your hand, who knows what size that is. You need, of course, a ruler, a golf ball. You know, when a hailstorm's coming, I have black paper ready to go. I've got a collection of coins, ping pong balls and golf balls, and baseball, I guess. But then as soon as the hail, I throw all that on there and take a picture, because then, you know, you don't have much time, right? The hail's gonna melt, right? So, big hail. Notice where it happens though. Very few reports in northern Minnesota for giant hail. Is it because there's less spotters, or is there less hail? I don't know. I'm not sure. But there's been some big ones in the past. Detroit Lakes really did get a big hailstorm at one time too. So that's number 3, giant hail. Number 2, wet June 2024. Here's another problem with these lists. We had a couple of different wet regimes, and is it a wet regime for a month? Is it a wet regime for a week? I mean, are those separate votes, or should they be put together? Maybe. But June 2024 came along and really changed the entire year for us. So up until then, we have a spring flood outlook meeting with the Corps of Engineers every year. I'm going to it next week. And we're always in exactly the same position right now as we were last year at this time, where basically there's nothing to see here. Nothing's going to flood in 2025 is what it looks like, right? But anything could happen between now and June. And what happened in 2024, no real spring flooding, but then it rained and it rained and rained in June. So then, of course, we had flooding. Right now we have some deep frost, but no snow cover. So maybe a little bit elevated risk of flooding for that just because of the deep frost. But no snow cover, we're not going to melt anything unless February comes through. And it has. 2019, anybody remember that? We thought we were done with winter. Then how much snowed again in the Twin Cities February 2019? It was the statistic. Come on, Frank, you should just Anybody know?
20 inches, 23?
39 inches in the Twin Cities. We had basically no snow on the ground right now. Well, yeah, it was starting, it was getting cold in 2019 right now. But then the snow came and we got a month of winter in 1 month. So whole winter in 1 month. So anyway, here's number 2, wet June. So what do you think number 1 is? Anybody looked at our website? Gee, there's a big surprise. Also wet June. But just wet June from the 15th to the 22nd. And probably what really made this noteworthy was when the national news started covering the Rapid Dam. Once that became a big story, everybody picked up on it. And they had the drone footage and the aerial footage of the dam and the flood around it. So that's right around here. Blue Earth River is where that dam was. But also Cook, up in northeast Minnesota, their town flooded too. And their poor little theater flooded as well. So a lot of misery from this event. And it did a lot to get rid of our drought, but it was too much precipitation, caused a lot of problems. So anything can happen. You know, just because it's dry 1 month doesn't mean the whole year is going to be dry. So we got some more QR codes because I know you love QR codes. So you can see all the little tidbits our office. I have to show it again. And a Climate Data Explorer, you can check that out. You can see weather trends and what's the future might hold too. And then what the DNR is doing for climate. And we have a climate action framework. So you can check out all that stuff there. And what about the future? So we have very many tools in our office for the future, as you see here. I don't know which one's better, the Farmer's Almanac or the Weather Stick. I think it's about even. It really works, what they say. We'll see. Frank, do you still do an outlook in your calendar?
Yep.
Oh, what'd you say for February?
No, I'm going colder, but I expect late snows this year.
Late snows.
Yeah.
All right, well, that's kind of been the pattern these
Maybe
days.
good ones in April.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I hope you like today. Hope you got a chance to enjoy that warm air because we're not going to see 52 for a while. That's what it looks like, at least right now. This is the Climate Prediction Center's looking out 6 to 10 days through February 9th. Cold. Usually they don't have this much detail on these maps. I mean, this is quite a contoured map they got. They almost used every single color. And I love the near normal. That's my favorite. Now, could they have like a high likelihood of near normal? Why not? Could they have like 3 levels of gray? I think they used to. Now they just have near normal. So I mean, maybe they could be confident it'll be normal. That's possible. And if it's very cold and above normal precip, what does that usually mean? You would think it means more snow, right? But we've seen this before this winter, where the last end of the model run has the big storm coming, right? And where does it go? Kansas City. Oh, okay, how about the next one? Oh, that one's going to Florida. You know, it seems to be, you know, they're there, but then they get shunted way far south or somewhere else. Going out a little further, 14-day, the cold spreads across a good chunk of the country. And precip? Well, near normal to above normal still. So we'll see if they're right. If they're right, by Valentine's Day, we should have a pretty good snowpack if this comes true. So what is going in their minds in this? This is basically what they're looking at is it's a classic La Nina pattern, is what they're thinking. So if you want a textbook La Nina pattern in the old school sense, that's what it looks like. And here is the El Nino outlook, La Nina, El Nino, ENSO model outlook. We're sitting right here, just barely into La Nina, and doesn't look like we'll stay there long. It looks like the outlook is to become neutral soon enough. And if some models are going to push us towards El Nino by in the fall. We'll have to see. They change a lot from month to month, so we'll have to keep an eye on it. But bottom line, it doesn't look like this La Nina is going to last very long. It looks like the middle road will stay just barely La Nina territory, at least through the summer.
What's the x-axis there?
Oh, x-axis squared. So 0
So El Nino would be, I think it's a half degree C above, and La Nina is half degree below C. And then I should have put another one with the strong and the moderate, the weak and that stuff too. And all these are different model runs. The spaghetti plot of all kinds of model runs, and they have the one in the middle. Kind of there's always gonna be those weird models and the outliers, right? I don't know which one this is that say we're gonna have a screaming La Nina, which I don't know which one, I can't quite see, I should have looked up which one that would be, there's always one. Is that what you're looking for,
Well, I was just trying to read the.
I know, it's a bad, this is the months down here, October, November, December, January, February.
Oh.
Yeah,
Every March.
yeah,
Okay, I'm sorry.
they should have a better presentation version of this. That's a good question though, yeah, I'm so used to staring at it, I don't even think about it anymore. So is there any questions on that part of the talk? Had to throw in the -60. Embarrass Tower back in February 2nd, 96. So coming up on that anniversary soon. So might be a while before we see the 60 below. Yeah. Question?
So at the risk of embarrassing myself, I go reasonably new to Minnesota. Generally speaking, El Nino versus La Nina from Minnesota, what does it look like?
Oh, great. El Nino, so think of, so El Nino, it's all about warming the waters of the equatorial Pacific, right?
Right, no, I know what.
You get that, okay, so what the weather means?
What does it generally mean from Minnesota?
So the more sure thing is the stronger the El Nino get, the more effect you have on the weather in the winter here. So like last winter, strong El Nino, or almost strong, and warm, warm winter, very warm winter. La Nina doesn't have as big of an impact. Oh, there's another slide I should have showed. Well, I can kind of see if I can find it. Yeah, okay. So in a La Nina pattern, I'll say it's kind of textbook, right? So the farther north and west you go, the better chance you have of below normal temperatures. So North Dakota, for La Nina, you have a better chance of below normal temperatures, and slightly tilt for wetter conditions. El Nino, kind of think of high and dry for us. So we're warmer. The precipitation is always a wild card because you always could have that big storm fire up and totally change everything. The temperature is a little more of a sure thing so El Nino, think warm winter, La Nina, kind of cold. So January will finish below normal, probably about 9/10 of a degree, even though we had 52 today, so it's probably about half a degree below normal. So barely, so yeah, no, that's a good question. Yeah. Any other questions? No questions.
Are there any longer term data sets of water temperature in Lake Superior?
Ooh.
Has that changed at all or?
Yes. That's funny, I have a whole nother slide set for that, and I didn't bring it, I should have brought that. That would have been a good one. Because yes, water temperature is going up, the ice cover is going down. It's not record low right now, but it's low, it's pretty low. So with the changes seen there is overall warmer temperatures. This past summer, you could have swam like on the North Shore of Lake Superior, no problem, in late July and August. That's not always. You can swim at Park Point, more or less sometimes, but this was a weird year for that. That said, we have had some good ice cover years the past 10 years. You saw the story of them walking out to the ice caves. So we could have some good years of winter, but we're having more like this one, where I think we're almost done for ice on Superior. It hasn't reached the peak season yet. Usually it's like February into early March. We have one more cold outbreak coming, but this one's coming. But, we're not off to the races for Superior ice this year. So, yeah, it's been going out. I wish we had more. Problem with Superior in a way is you got, temperatures on the surface and you have the depth too. So there's a lot to it.
More than just a buoy.
More just a buoy, but they got a lot of sensors on it now, a lot more than they used to. Use satellite a lot more now too for the ice. Any other questions? That's a good one.
First of all, what is the temperature difference like on Lake Superior?
Okay. Temperature difference? Oh,
Yeah,
how
like-
much has it
like how much
changed?
has it
I don't know.
Okay.
I have to think for a minute here. Yeah, I'm not sure. And there's just been changes over time, summer, year round. I like looking at it every day. You can look at it, the temperature, how it changes, just like right now, the ice. It's fun to watch, where's the ice gonna form and stuff like that, but, no, I don't know, that's good.
And my second question is, have you guys looked at how many days we had icing in the Twin Cities?
Oh,
How has that increased over
yes.
time?
that's a good one.
It sucks.
You would think that would be increasing, because south of us, let's say if our patterns are shifting, like we're getting more Iowa weather, they get more ice storms in Iowa. We haven't really seen that yet. Here, like more ice storms. Glazing, I'm not sure about. We definitely had some glazing events this past year already, a few of them, not horrible ones, but enough to where it was interesting, right? So there's a couple things that happen there too. One thing that happens a lot is if you have shaded pavement when there's still frost in the ground. So what happened, and then what you can get is frost on the pavement. That also happens, and that's harder to pin down because you'll see it if you drive around town. If there's like trees shading, the pavement, you get that white frost on the pavement too. So there's a lot of, yes. So we haven't seen like really any big storm changes, but there might be increases in glazing, like light glazing, I guess. There should be a forecaster more than me in the room here, because I'm a little rusty with my forecasting. I haven't done it in a while, so. Any questions online? No questions online. All right,
Are there any long-term, I know there probably aren't too many data points on this, are there any longer-term records around frost depth?
Ooh, good one. We are working on that. I have 25 years at my house. Frost depth right now is 25 inches. So the deepest I've ever had in 25 years is 32 inches. So what's been happening is shortening the season of frost.
Right.
So last year was the record short that I've had in 25 years. So basically you freeze up at the end of November, beginning of December, you thaw out, usually beginning of April. So how that ties in too is that's when your ice goes out too. Ice out and frost are pretty close. So over time, we've seen a trend in less frost overall, less depth of frost. In the 60s, and at the weather station at the U of M, they could get frost down to 60 inches under sod. So that's deep. I've never seen anything remotely like that. So that's why 1965 was so bad for flooding. They had the moisture, they had super deep frost, and then they had springtime rains too. So they had everything that could go wrong did for that. But yeah, frost has been going down, and I should check it. So we might have thawed of an inch. I'll have to check tomorrow. Might have. They probably, you can tell right away the ground's starting to get a little spongy. Yeah, how do you check the frost? The frost tube. It's a PVC pipe in the ground, about half, 3/4 inch, and there's a rubber tube that pulls out, and there's a green fluorescein dye in there, and when it freezes, it turns clear. The dye doesn't freeze. So you just measure how deep it is, you can feel it too. And it's really kind of a neat thing. Really kind of fun to keep track of. Just have to do it for years and years and years to get any kind of trend.